this morning. So today's it's kind of a great day. It's been a very intense re re return home from all the traveling I was doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I woke up this morning feeling, I don't know, like anxiety and OCD are a part of, my mental makeup. And I was feeling those feelings and the expressions of those conditions pretty strongly this morning.
Yeah.
So in my meditation, I was like, I really saw the value of this practice, and it never ceases to show its value to me. Cause it was just one of those situations where I was able to be a friend to myself in a moment where there was like some emotional tenderness, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. And just to say that it's okay and that we can be present with this, I can be with this. To me, that's the wisdom aspect of self-compassion, is being able to comfort yourself and be with yourself so that you can bear witness to reality.
Mhm.
And the reality is that thoughts and feelings come and go. Then you don't have to get too stuck on them.
Yeah.
So just feeling appreciative for not only the friendship, the personal friendship aspect of self-compassion, but the wisdom that it can open us up to.
Well, first, I appreciate you sharing that. That's not really often how we open an IG live. As I woke up this morning with some OCD and some, and that's part of your experience and part of many of our experiences. I mean, I had that day yesterday, and today I'm in a different day. Yesterday if we had this live, I would have been like, I don't want to do it. Actually, I'm feeling so crummy. I don't want to be in front of a camera. And then as you mentioned, it shifts and changes. But how do we show up for ourselves, not just on the good days? Because it's
Right.
easy on the good days to show up and put ourselves out in the world, or take care of ourselves. But it's on the harder mornings to sit with our feelings, whatever is showing up, but also to be honest about it with others, which is another aspect of self compassion. I see compassion as a flow,
Mm,
is the capacity to give compassion to ourselves, but also receive compassion and give compassion to others. And that's comes from Paul Gilbert's stuff around the Passionate Mind Foundation. But it often is hard to let other people in
yeah,
too. So I appreciate you sharing that.
for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of your music, I feel, has that wing of understanding, because you're really honest in your music about the struggles that you're going through. And then you also bring in the
Yeah.
wisdom and the understanding in your messaging. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about Omane Padme Home, because I didn't tell you we did an interview together where I interviewed you,
Yeah.
and you're going to come out on the Wise Effort podcast in a few weeks. But the Omane Padme Home was my root mantra from my dad
Mm,
as a kid. It was what he would always, and I never really looked it up. I actually looked it up this morning. What does this mean? Because he would always tell me, he would say, it means the world is a lotus flower sitting in your heart, honey. So you got to take care of your
oh,
heart.
oh,
I was like, well, it's a big statement.
yeah,
Like,
that's
the
huge.
world is a lotus flower, but it has many different meanings. And I'm curious for you, because it's a mantra of compassion from
Yes.
Manapane,
Yeah.
and self compassion, and
Yeah. Yeah. So it is our family mantra here at home. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's a mantra that means quite a lot to me. So there are many different interpretations of the 6 syllable mantra. And what I'm sharing is just my own understanding,
yeah,
not an authority. just
yeah.
just a disclaimer. But Om Mani Padme Hum, as far as I understand it, the classical definition is homage to the jewel that is within the lotus. So, and then, so Om as like an exhortation, homage to the jewel within the lotus, Hum. And Hum is like the syllable that seals it all together.
Mhm.
Um, Mani is the jewel, Padme is the lotus. M- Mani represents wisdom, Padme represents compassion. and in whom the wisdom and compassion are inseparable. So through the inseparable union of wisdom and compassion, we become awakened. Is so it's like the formula for what enlightenment is. And it is a reminder of the fact that the wisdom and compassion are inseparable. The wisdom of how life really is and our compassionate response to how life really is. And let me think, is there any other? Yeah, no, that's it. That's how that's those are the vibes for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also soothing to hear. It's also there's just there's something in just the saying and hearing and receiving of the mantra that are really beautiful to me.
Right. And a lot of these mantras, I mean, now that we're looking at like they look at the science of these mantras and the chanting of Om Mani Padme Om, it's a long enough exhale that is activating the ventral vagus nerve. As we know about sort of our nervous system,
Yep.
that having that long exhale is what, I mean, we didn't need to have, people have been using this mantra for thousands of years, but that's what activates that soothing system. And the hum, the humming
Mm,
sound
mm.
at the end is also activates that ventral vagus, which is very much part of our social engagement. So it's been kind of, this was just a mantra that was used around my dad always used it around the household. He would say it a lot. And his definition was his definition from, he studied more Tibetan
Yeah.
kind of approaches and and from Thich Nhat Hanh. But it was just when I heard you sing that,
Yeah.
and now it's like that is the song on your album that I just want to play over and over again because it has all my favorites. It has like that root mantra, the family mantra. It has Thich Nhat Hanh's voice, which is also just a really grounding, soothing voice for me. Like
Yeah.
hearing his voice. I have old cassette tapes from a retreat that I went on with him in
Wow.
2001 that are like those. It's that voice, and I'm like, I can't even play these things anymore. It's cassettes of Thich Nhat Hanh, but that's a beautiful, I think that's a beautiful, like, how we could have a self-compassionate mantra, whatever it is. You don't need to have a Sanskrit mantra. You could
Sure.
have a mantra that's in whatever language is whatever language resonates with you or whatever words
Yeah.
resonate with you. But to have that as a tool
Yeah.
that you can repeat to yourself is for me, that's a self-compassion practice because sometimes the mantra that's going in our head is not the most full one.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to borrow something. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very, very often. I like to remind people that we're talking to ourselves all the time, no matter what, and the and like you said, a lot of times those mantras that we're repeating, if they're on autopilot, can be really unkind or unkind at first, unskillful at medium, or just sort of banal, at the least. And when we bring our mindfulness to what's happening in our minds and just notice like, oh, what's there? Oh, do I need to be saying that to myself? Can I let that go? What could I replace this stream of thought with when I'm having a tough time? It's sometimes I'll just say to myself, it's okay. I'm here for you. There's there, the mantra of Om Mani Padme Hum, it also is connected to the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, or to take away some of these words, the archetype of compassionate energy,
Yeah.
that some people call Avalokiteshvara. And to me, when I can say to myself, it's okay, I'm here for you, that is the Avalokiteshvara within me. That's the voice of compassion within me that can see that I'm in a moment of suffering and and reach out and say it's okay. So I love the fact that with the practice of mindfulness, we get this metacognition where like we can see our own mental habits and respond in a compassionate way. So we're not and and even the seeing and the feeling, it can still feel really crummy, but we're not like of grabbed by the collar by it so much, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, all sorts of things feel really crummy, but having some compassion with them. Your kid is sick or homesick from school, or my husband's been in some surgeries recently. He feels
So,
crummy,
yeah.
and it feels so different for me to sit with him when he feels crummy than for him to be alone
Yeah.
and feeling crummy,
Mm,
right? So we can do that for ourselves, and that feels foreign maybe for some of us, or it feels familiar. Maybe if you have had an experience of compassion, or you've experienced what it's like for someone to be there for you, then you can borrow that imagery, or you can bring that person, or that, Abhidharma Kateshara, whatever figure, into your experience to be with you. And I feel like there's some of us, at least when I'm working with clients, some clients really benefit from like a mantra or some kind of verbal thing that they say to themselves. And then for some clients that does not work. It just
right.
gets them more in their heads, and they need more of and for me also, I really benefit from like an embodied compassion.
Mm,
So as you were closing your eyes and you were talking about Avalokiteshvara, I felt like you were like you were embodying, you were feeling the compassion in your eyes or your face, or maybe breathing in the way that you would breathe as if you were with Avalokiteshvara, as if that was coming into your body. And for some people, that's another access point, is how can I actually embody loving eyes, or
mm.
loving belly, or a slow breath. And then for others, it's writing. That's another practice that I do. A lot of, I don't know. I mean, you write all your songs. It sounds like you,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So I write all my lyrics. Sometimes I forget that when I'm writing my lyrics counts as
it counts.
the journaling practice
Yeah.
or writing practice. When I was really having a tough time a few years ago during the writing of my previous album, In This Moment, I would journal every day. I would sit and then I'd come out and I'd write a letter to myself. And that practice was so like crucial to helping me through a period of depression. And yeah, there's something about writing. Yeah, I mean, as a songwriter, obviously I know that, but being deliberate, and I didn't no preconceived thought, just whatever came out, I would just, and sometimes it'd be a paragraph, sometimes it'd be multiple pages, or just say, dear Ofosu, whatever I wanted to offer myself as support, in the moment. It was super helpful. What you talked about embodying also, I love this idea of, having the compassionate eyes, or the compassionate belly, or, um, bodying the energy of compassion in any given moment. And that all of these are available to us, and that there's no right or wrong way to approach or to bring self-compassion into your life. What feels, I mean, experimentation, I think, is amazing. And then what feels like home, what what feels like something, oh, I can let my guard down and do this.
Yeah. There's there's an element of that. Well, I guess I want to say my son yesterday came home from school, and he was reading about something in school, some kind of fairy tale or something, Grimes fairy tales. And he said, we learned in school that understanding has two meanings. It has the meaning that we think of as understanding, but also has a meaning of standing under
Mm.
somebody. Like when you offer understanding to someone, you're standing under them, you're supporting
Oh,
them.
oh,
And I was like, well, I mean, he's like a little bodhisattva. He's the, he is amazing, my little son. But when he was at Plum Village, they had the kiddos take two vows. So they vow to compassion and understanding, and they have a little song that the kids sing about, I vow to practice compassion and understanding. But I also think about that when you are talking about writing, or you're talking about embodying, you're kind of becoming your own scaffolding. You're standing underneath yourself. You're supporting yourself. And sometimes writing is a way to support yourself, because you're bringing in a wise version of you that has a little bit of a distance perspective. Rather than just being in it,
yeah.
you actually can step back from it and put it on a page. or, painting or art are other ways that people could get that little, express. I used to have a roommate in college that kept a block of clay under her bed, and she would like express her emotions through her clay. Like she'd pull it out and, create stuff. So there's lots of different ways. And as you're saying,
Yeah.
like experimenting, ways of which practicing this practice of understanding and compassion for yourself, which is supporting yourself.
Yeah.
And that is not always easy, nor is it come easily, like, nor is it always taught to us
Yeah.
of how to support ourselves.
Yeah.
I'm curious for you with your
Mm.
kids, what are, how do you work with them around compassion? You're like the best dad ever. So I
Oh,
kind of learned a little bit about your parenting, and I want to ship my teenager to you. You're like super skilled. Yeah.
oh, so I mean, listen, if you asked my kids, I don't know. Oh, well, there is a best daddy ever mm, picture that one of my kids drew here on the altar. So as I was about to be like, they wouldn't say that, then I'm looking at some, they actually did say
Yeah.
that. So thank you. But I'm sure they don't think that and and my parenting has had an arc, like when I was a very young parent, I had a lot less skill and I was a lot less skillful, but I've been open to learning more. And actually what's been pivotal for me in becoming a more skillful parent has been practicing self-compassion and not shaming myself when I'm unskillful, um, but and not shaming myself for patterns you know, that I might be repeating that I learned when I was young and that I'm, trying to bring mindfulness to, trying to bring healing to, but it's not a perfect situation. So, I mean, I'm teaching a self-compassion for parents parenting series right now, link in my bio if you want to join, if there's any parents out there. And I think it's just really important for parents to be modeling, number one, that they're not perfect human beings, so that there isn't a standard of perfection that's being sold to your children, like that you have to have all the answers. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I'm sorry, I messed up. It's okay to I'm co-teaching a family class, and we were I asked the kids and parents to share their highs and lows, and something great that's been happening for them, and something difficult that's been happening for them. And one of the parents remarked that it's uncomfortable to share your lows with your kids. And my thought was, yeah, a lot of us were taught that we can only show the face of efficiency, productivity, perfection to our kids so that they feel safe. But it's more likely that they'll feel safe knowing that you are doing your best, just like they're doing their best, and that they shouldn't have to have it all figured out. Nonetheless, last night, my 7-year old, we were just doing spelling words. He was like, Daddy, can you help me with my spelling words? And I was like, sure. Got all of them right. Got to the word awesome, missed the E in awesome, and was just like, where's mommy? Mommy's better at this. So you just missed one letter. And then it just spiraled into a pretty massive meltdown. And I tried to so this is the thing, right? Like I tried to, as parents who know these practices, we offer them to our kids whenever we can, right? But then when the rubber hits the road, when there's a big meltdown or something like that,
Mhm.
you'd like to think that they would access those resources right away, like you've been sharing with them. But that's just not always how it works out. So what you're mentioning about the many different ways self-compassion can manifest, and being open to all of those ways is crucial. Because last night there was a massive, massive meltdown. And I was just like, hey buddy, how can you take care of yourself right now? And just arms folded across the chest, like, I don't know. And I was like, well, what about breathing? No, I can't breathe. I was like, you're breathing right now. Well, I don't want to breathe in that way. I was like, oh, okay. All right. He's like, I know what to do, but I don't want to. And I was like, oh, okay. I hear you. Well, listen, this is a storm and it's going to pass, but I don't think we should be doing spelling words right now. No, no, no. I have to do it. I want to do it. It's like, it's all right, buddy. Like, listen, I can't do it. How about this? I can't do spelling words with you when you're this upset. So let's just chill for a moment
Yeah.
and just think about how you can take care of yourself. What would you say to a friend of yours who was feeling like this? I don't know. And then, I just let it be quiet. We didn't say anything. Then he got up and walked and stomped to the living room and grabbed a pillow and said, I'm going to use a pillow to take care of myself. And grabbed the pillow and just cried. And he
Yeah.
grabbed, so he cried for, and I let him be. And he cried for a good 5 minutes. He turned on like this YouTuber that he likes to watch. And he just like self-soothed and cried. Then he got a little bit more chill. And I was like, hey, buddy, do you want to finish this last word? And he was like, okay. And they came over and gave me a hug. And I was like, hey, you took care of yourself. You found a way. And, mm, and then we finished it. All was well. The storm passed. So I had some tightness. Like I really wanted him to like, you know, do some sort of classical self-compassion technique, like hand over your heart, hand on your belly, deep
Yeah.
breathing, all that. And any thought of that was like the worst thought in the world to him. But
Yes.
just framing it like you can take care of yourself. How can you take care of yourself right now? And just leaving it was like an opportunity. He took the opportunity. So I was super proud of him for
Well,
doing
I'm
that.
super proud of you
Yeah.
because actually the very first thing that you did was you stayed in it with him, but you stayed in it with him from, I mean, I don't know how centered you were, but the way you're describing it is that you weren't losing it. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's the hardest part for me is like, if all else fails, just don't lose it. Or if I'm losing, leave the room. You know?
Yeah.
And and that's where these practices come into play because your nervous system is already co-regulating his nervous system no matter what you say or what you suggest or what technique or what, and a lot of times kids are not, at least my kids are like this, they're in the
Yeah.
same, they're like, I'm not going to breathe right now. No way. And they feel the stability and the equanimity of you being able to hold the space for the immensity of what they're feeling and giving them that space to ride that out. And that is the practice that we do for ourselves in our own meditation practice or in our own walking meditation. Like I can allow enough space for whatever's showing up and not run from it. So that's what I'm hearing that you did as a parent. And
Yeah.
we think that as parents, we're supposed to have some, instill some kind of, you know, skill. I mean, this is just the daily life, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
meltdowns are part of it. Like,
Right.
yeah. And sometimes we handle it skillfully and sometimes we don't. Yesterday I had a kid that didn't want to go to his after school activity and was, faking all the fakes. Like, I have a headache. No, I had a stomach ache. No, I'm too tired. All these things. And I knew in my heart, like, you need to
Yeah.
go. Like,
Yeah.
that sometimes is compassionate parenting move is to put our kids into sometimes it's let go of the spelling. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's gently, we need to stick with the spelling.
Yeah.
And that is a hard
Yes.
decision to make. And so for me yesterday, it was, no, we need to stick with this because I knew that going outside and playing and being physically active for an hour would change his mood
Oh,
and be really helpful for him. And if I brought him home, it would be like hide out in your room and get on Minecraft. And I was like, I feel better about Minecraft if you do an hour of physical
yeah.
activity. So
Yeah.
it's the capacity to be with difficulty.
Mhm.
Other people, our kids' difficulties, our own difficulties, our planet's difficulties, and hold it all with love. And that is a practice. Yeah.
It really is a practice. In my meditation this morning, feeling not great, but noticing just how precious it is to be a companion to myself in a moment where it doesn't feel good, because I also know that this won't last forever, but if I, if I run away from this or shame myself into more bad feelings or, if I'm not able to just be present with kindness with whatever is arising in the moment, I have no opportunity for transformation. So like I self-compassion has the potential to sound soft or selfish or entry level or any of those things.
Right.
But to me, just like the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, that wisdom and compassion are inseparable. Self-compassion really does lay the foundation. It's an expression of wisdom, and it's a foundation of wisdom as well. So when your kid is having a meltdown or you're just in a difficult situation, just like you said, it was an edge for me.
Mhm.
It's an edge for me because when I was growing up, I didn't have as much room to express my emotion. I didn't have this much room to express my
Yeah.
emotions, you know? And so when I now giving that much space, it feels like uncomfortable. So the first thing I have to do is take care of myself, you know, is like, this is uncomfortable. Sometimes it's just the labeling technique of mindfulness, unpleasant, unpleasant, just quietly, finding it in my body and just naming it as unpleasant.
Mhm.
Yeah. And like you said, sometimes we stick the landing, sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
I feel like I saw this, it's something I believe personally, and I saw this quote the other day on Instagram. There's something about doing these practices for ourselves that gives a silent invitation to anybody around us and hopefully in a macro way to the world around us to do the same thing. You know, if we're actively caring for ourselves, we're we're holding that door open for other people to do the same.
Right. Right. Whether it's our partner, our kids, or people that we work with,
Yeah.
um, that the statement of allowing yourself to show mistakes. When you show that for you, I mean, as you're talking about sticking the landing or not sticking the landing, then all of a sudden it opens up the door for everyone that's listening to think about all the times that they haven't stuck the landing, and then
Yeah.
that's okay. That's
Yeah.
part of our relationships of relating with each other, even relating with ourselves. I don't always stick the landing with myself, and how I can have like that's just the understanding component. It's like that's just part of being human. It
Yeah.
is. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that about you. I think that one of your like a really beautiful thing about you is that you're such a wise teacher, but then you're also so humble. And so, you just real and you don't put yourself in some position that you've got it all together all the time, even though you can offer so much wisdom. So it's one of the things that attracted me to you and your music.
Thank
And
you.
I'm really excited about sharing our longer conversation where we work
Yeah.
through a number of your songs and we talk about the history behind the song and how and its meaning. And when you have that, then you listen to the song again. Like for all of you that are going to go listen to Om Mani Padme Om now, it'll have a different meaning to you because of this conversation that we had. It has a depth to it of what does this chant mean and where does it come from for you, but also, people can identify for themselves what that means to them.
Sure.
So I appreciate you. Can
Thank
we
you. I
share?
appreciate you. Yeah.
Yeah. And can we take a look at those
The
parakeets?
birds?
For
Yeah. All right. Let's
my dog's been like roaming around somewhere. So, Animal Planet here
let
on
me see
Instagram Live.
if I can. Here they are.
Oh, look,
This is
good job. It is a great day outside.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. This is lapis and peridot over here.
sweet.
Can you see them? Are they too backlit?
Yeah, no, no. Actually, I had a parakeet when I was a kid, and it used to lay these tiny. Do either of them lay eggs? It's
So
like the tiniest little egg
so
ever.
so peridot up here laid an egg some time ago, and the chick hatched, and lapis and peridot, yeah, they were kind of getting it on,
Oh my
and
gosh!
yeah, and the chick hatched, but sadly it didn't survive. And I think it had an emotional impact on the two of them. They haven't tried to conceive since. and and
Aw.
they were they're a little they're a little less. Well, Peridot does not want any human contact whatsoever. She's like, something happened. There was some trauma there for them. Yeah, I
Oh,
think. And so I just kind of just let them live their lives because after that little hack situation, yeah, I mean they're definitely each other's companion. You see, I don't keep the cage keep them caged in. They fly around here sometimes,
yeah.
but yeah, but we did have a situation. It was complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's complicated. Yeah, I have chickens and we every once in a while, I say I live in this, like, total full-on canyon,
Oh,
right? And
wow.
we get we've gotten bears, we get coyotes, and they'll cut and I let my chickens out, like you let your birds. I believe birds, they wanna go, they wanna fly, they wanna move
Yeah.
around. And we'll get a coyote come through, and once we had a coyote come through recently that took everything but 2. And those 2 chickens, you can see they're still traumatized, they don't
Yeah.
wanna leave that coop, right? So, yeah, our animals can also teach us about impermanence, but also, being afraid, what we do when we're afraid.
That's true. Yeah.
Sweet.
Oh, they're
Sounds
saying hi at least.
good. Well, you're gonna come on the Wise Upper podcast in a few weeks. People
Yeah.
can check that out. And you have a parenting class going, but you also have something. Is it tomorrow that you have a men's?
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you're
Yep.
like tomorrow. Yeah,
Right, that's tomorrow.
yeah.
So, yeah, we are doing a mindful men's group, Brothers on the Path, with my brother, Kid Beyond. That's a half-day virtual retreat for all male identified adults.
Right.
And yeah, just an opportunity for men to come together and do some work cultivating wisdom and compassion. So hopefully, link in my bio for all the things. So hopefully,
Yeah.
y'all join. The music's there, the retreats are there, all the offerings are there. So please come check them out.
Good. And for those of you that want to learn more about self compassion, I have a journal out. We're talking about writing today
Yes.
that has a lot of everything about, everything from compassion for the body to the flow of compassion to how to have compassion for our difficult feelings, anger, regret, sadness, shame. And it follows a lot of the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh, but also some of the research in compassion in terms of psychology research. So I sit at that intersection and kind of see that they all, there's a consilience there, that there's a joint understanding that's developing through science and through thousands of years of contemplative practice. So you can check that out, the Self Compassion Daily Journal. Link is in my bio as well.
Yay.
And thanks so much for spending this time
For sure.
together.
I just want to say that interconnectivity is really the point of of truth in my mind. All the different points where our expressions and traditions and understandings intersect. That's like where the heart of it all is. So I really appreciate the work you
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how there can be so many different places that come to one center.
Mm,
And there's different
mm.
words for it, or there's different ways of getting there, whether it's through music or through science or through mantra or through, loving your
Yeah.
kids, right? That there's a there is it does sort of boil down to compassion and love and understanding, what we were talking wisdom and understanding. So all right.
All
Have a
right.
wonderful rest of your day.
You
And
too.
thanks so much for sharing this time with us. Yeah.
Likewise. I'll see you again.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.